Good morning again, gentlemen. We are through already with the chapter 1, the nature and relevance of research, and chapter 2, the reviewing of literature. We now move to the chapter 3 of the course, focusing on the research problem. The problem is the heart of any research project. Without a focused research problem, there is no research to speak of. In this chapter, we are going to explore the sources and nature of research problems, their characteristics, how they are stated, how they are justified, and how the title of the study should be written. Again, I am using the book of Dr. Carlito de Garcia on Developing Competencies in Research, a practical guide for students and instructors. After studying this chapter on focusing on the research problem, you as student should be able to identify possible sources of research problems, cite and explain the different factors to consider in the choice of a research problem, point out the three types of research problems and give examples of each of them, state the main and specific problems of the study using the declarative and question forms, justify your choice of the problem for your study by answering the basic questions provided for in this chapter, and finally, write a title for your proposed research following the rules for labeling a research problem. Actually, we are done through identifying the topic of or area of your interest, which will be the focus of your research for this semester. And yes, I since the three proposed topics you submitted to me have similar or identical area of interest. That's why, as your advisor, I summarize, I study it up um, and distribute topics to each of the groups and focusing on different angles of research of area of interest, focusing on maritime industry, specifically in maritime education. So we had already identified and distribute specific topics to the each groups should focus on. Okay, what are the sources of research problems? Asking question is the usual starting point for question. Thinking about thinking, according sa metacognition niya. What is a question in research? It is but a question or problem that is need of solution or an answer. Identifying the problem to be studied is oftentimes the difficulty encountered by both undergraduate and graduate students. In order to identify research problems, a researcher needs to know where they can be sourced. Meaning, may ano tala, may may umpisahan gid ano gid bala ang ano mo ang focus mo, no, kaya very kumbaga generic, kumbaga ka wide, no, ang mga researchable problems. So focus na kita sa sara. So as maritime students, no, we tend to to focus on matters regarding maritime education or any issues in maritime industry lang, no? Okay. One of the sources of research problem is personal interest and observations, no? Based on your personal interest and observations. Our own interests and observations are important because they can point to directions for research and in sustaining the study. Most often, students are at a loss to get an idea of for a research and project, and too often believe it to be more difficult. The springboard for research is all around us. All we have to do is to observe and be curious, no? Yon, no? Uh, source man kang research is your personal interest and base man sa observation mo sa palibot, no? Another possible source of questions for research is the pressing problem needing a solution, no? So since you are focusing on maritime industry, kung ano ba lang ang current problem ko dyan sa maritime industry, in terms of seafarers, no? Concerns about the seafarers, mga policy, about sa ating curriculum, about sa welfare ng mga students, quality education ng mga student, no? Safety ng mga practitioners ng mga fisher folks natin, ng mga kaimaw natin sa industry, no? So whether in school, workstation, or the community, we are confronted with problems requiring immediate solution or attention. These difficulties that have to be immediately addressed are potential problems for research. For instance, traffic congestion, drug addiction, criminality in the country's metropolitan areas, and spread of type A, H1N1, flu are good topics for research. No? But in maritime education, the good topic for research focusing on, as mentioned earlier, terms of safety of personnel, seafarers, students, no, fisher folks, mga practitioners natin sa maritime industry, no. Also security matters, no, health and wellness of our seafarers, talks about maritime environment, pollutions, no. Ano pa ang mga concerns, no? Yun, no, ang commonly no nga researchable problems nga pili natin nga bulaan nga ikandakan ng study sa maritime industry. Other investigators' theories and research can also be sources of research problems. One of the most interesting thing about research is that it raises more questions than it answers. These new questions can also serve as a starting point for further research. Literature in one's field of specialization, yun, sa maritime education kita, is another possible source of research problem. Books and research journals in your area of expertise can be a potential source of research topic. These sources, that's why gina-emphasize natin na sa academy, no, kaya gusto natin na improve ang curriculum, improve natin ang quality kang education, improve natin ang maritime industry as a whole. That is why focusing only on our field of specialization, no. Para in the part man kang in your part as student man, mas inclined ka mo, mas comfortable ka mo sa area ng studian mo mismo, no. These sources not only teach readers about a particular discipline or profession, but also to suggest topics for further study and exploration. Because aside from contributing body of knowledge na siya in the community and in the maritime industry, also your study can be replicated naman by and go deeper, no, for exploration by other researchers naman, no. Pili nang darai i-replicate kag i-explore pag go deeper ang study nga kandakan mo, no. Completed theses and dissertations are also good sources of research problems. These research projects normally suggest topics that future researchers can work on, particularly the recommendation section of the research topic. So kung mga research enthusiast na agresibo tanda ka sa pagbasa ka mga completed researches, kung kita mo tanda ka na permis sa library kag gina-explore dara ang mga thesis kag dissertations nga na-publish na completed rin. So ang ginahimo technique nanda ka gina-look nanda into ang recommendation kay dito na makita nga may mabasa ko dito sa recommendation, the other researcher may explore, no, or replicate this study and explore in this area, no, nga wala pa na-cover kang study na dyan. So, I suggest, no, to all students, no, concerned and research enthusiasts, no, you may qualities become research is to be patient, no, go to the library or search over the internet ang nyo, one by one nyo basaha ang mga published articles kag studihan nyo kung diin bala din bala nga area pwede mo siya nga i-explore pagid, no, especially under sa imo gid nga interest, no, kung makabuligid sa isa program natin sa maritime, no, especially ang mga research study about sa curriculum enhancement, no, about sa inyong mga sa quality ng education, no, mura very interesting topics, no, to conduct. Suggestion from colleague and professors can also provide researchers with problems for in-depth study. Yun, dyan ka lang nakasulad si ako, kung si your professor, mga contributing suggestions from your other professors may can provide you with researchable problems na nga makabulig sa pag sobra kay imong research. Your friends and peers who have undertaken research in a particular discipline can suggest problematic areas needing immediate attention, which can be a possible topic for study. Even your professor in your major subjects can recommend topics for further investigations. That is why, no nga, first day pa lang klase natin, gin-require ko mo mag-provide kang 3 researchable problems. Kag I found out na almost similar lamang tanan ng mga topics ang gin-present nyo. To make it more, that's why as your professor, to make it more, i-cover natin ang all angles ng maritime industry, no. That's why sipad-sipad ko siya, no. Distribute ko properly sa grupo nyo ang iba-iba nga mga researchable problem, no, nga pili natin makover, no, within the semester. Kada grupo iba man ang topic nga i-focus na, no. So good to know nga ang inyo gito na nga main concern ka dyan nga tiyempo focusing on the impact, for example ang epekto ka dyan kang COVID-19 sa pag-eskwela natin, kag how effective the flexible learning, no, kay we are adapting a flexible learning modality sa school natin. So gusto nyo man nga i-survey or i-studihan kung how effective it is, no, sa mga students natin. So good to know. So that's why gina-assign ko sa isa ka grupo ang isa ka problem mo dyan, no, para makover natin ang kabilugan ng topic, no. And also about related sa pandemic, no, ang search problem, no. But always understand the what are the factors to consider in the choice of a research problem. After knowing the possible sources of research topics, it is important to know the criteria or factors that should be considered in selecting a problem for research. These factors are briefly discussed below. Number 1, novel. When considering a research topic, you can have to focus on one which have not been investigated before. In the event that the problem was already studied, you need to inject originality by coming up with another research design, using a different data gathering tool, or a different scheme for analyzing research data. So it's clearly stated here in novel that your research must be, or you should inject some originality in your research, no, by creating a research design, different data gathering tool, or different scheme for analyzing research data. Kung may ara man nga previous research similar to your research, so you put some originality in your current research being conducted, okay, to make it novel. Next, relevant. The result of the study on the given problem should be of practical value to you and there are significant others in the field. This means that once the study had been completed, its findings, conclusions, and recommendations can be used in improving practices or solving identified difficulties. No? It should be relevant in your area of specialization. As I discussed earlier, no, in the previous topic 1 and topic 2, nga, hambal ko, I mentioned, ang research natin should be aligned, no, in our area of specialization, no, in the field where we are gina ano natin gina na eskwelahan natin, ginahasa natin ang ating specialty sa field to. So which is a maritime education. So it should be relevant in our field, no. Now, next, interesting. As the researcher, you need to consider your interest in the choice of the research problem. Interest counts a lot in the conduct of the study. If you are not interested in the topic, it will be difficult for you to put your heart and soul in it. That's why you should choose a topic that interests you, no? And makes you feel engaged in conducting a certain research, no? Or else karon kung napilitan ka lang karon kang topic na ra, so gadura dyan ka na ang flavor na, no? Gadura ang flavor kang kung ang gana mo bala mag conduct ng research. Next, interesting. Interesting, sorry. Next, feasible. This means that the problem you are going to work on can be completed without undue amount of time, money, or effort. Research feasibility also means that you have the necessary competence or expertise to conduct the study on the chosen field, no? It's very clear, no, in feasibility that before the end of semester, there are study that we are going to conduct should be completed na, no. That's why gani nga gina-consider natin ang time frame, no, using the SMART approach, no. Within the duration of semester matapos hingawon ginaton matapos ang research, no. And you should have an expertise, no. That's why should be aligned in your area of specialization because mas hasa ka kung mas easy lang kanimo maghimay-himay ka mga problema, no? Next, researchable. This means that data can be collected to answer the problem that you posed. A researcher, for instance, who wants to prove the existence of God will definitely find it difficult to gather quantifiable data to answer the said problem. That's why gani nga mention ko man earlier in the previous topics, no, dapat, no, it should be researchable, no. Dapat available lang sa area or locality nga siliin ka mo nabilong. That's why gin-group ko mo according to your location, no? Gin-group ko mo according to location nyo. Kaya tungod nga just want to emphasize nga ang data nga kuha natin nakuhaan natin dapat available lang sa inyong area, no. It should be researchable, available in your area, no. Padasig lang conduct sang study, ano. And the last one, it should be ethical. A research problem is said to be ethical when it does not involve physical or psychological harm or damage to human beings or organizations. In other words, a study on a particular topic should not put people or institution in the bad light. That's why, gentlemen, we have to be very careful with the research that we are conducting, no? Nga kung mag-conduct kita, yes, tanan nga bagay sa palibot at pili natin conductan sa study, but we have to be very careful nga ora kita pinalapak na taho, organization man na, government na siya, school where we studied, o kung tao sa community, ano. So it should be ethical, no. Dapat ang result ng research natin makabulig, kag it does not cause harm, no, to the people in the community or organization we work on. Okay, you have to be very careful on this. Let's proceed to the types of research problems. A research problem is usually posed as a question. The question form is often referred due to its simplicity and directness. Moreover, this format orients the researcher to the immediate task of developing a design to answer the research question. Research question, however, may be descriptive, relationship, or difference. When we say a descriptive research question, typically asks what is. Tandaan natin ito guys, no? When we say descriptive research question, typically asks what is and suggest a survey question design, no? Some example of descriptive research question are as follows. What is the prevalent organizational culture of San Sebastian College Carlitos as assessed by the officers, department chairs, faculty members, students, and non-teaching employees? The other example, what is the level of emotional readiness of level 3 BSN student of two nursing colleges in the NCR as assessed by the students themselves and their clinical instructors? Another example of descriptive research question, what are the dominant leadership styles of local barangay executives in Manila, Quezon City, Mandaluyong, and Makati as perceived by themselves and their constituents? Also, an example of descriptive, what is the level of commitment of the uniformed and non-uniformed officers of the Philippine National Police to their job and the organizations? Also, what is the reading comprehension level of liberal arts and education students of Manuel L. Quezon University? Yun. Those are the example of descriptive research question. Kung may nakita alik among what is, what are nga, they are all descriptive, no? It means direct, no, question, no? Muto ang anang keywords to direct question. Should have a simplicity and directness, no? How about a relationship research questions, no? It asks what is the relationship between two or more variables or factors under study and implies a correlation design. The following are example of relationship research questions. Does emotional readiness of level 3 BSN students relate significantly with their performance in RLA? Other example is the self-concept of the HRM student of SSCR related to their performance in the professional subjects? Is there a significant association between performance in their licensure examination for teachers and their grade point averages in general and professional educational courses? Another example is there a significant relationship between job performance of nursing interns and their level of achievement in the various professional nursing subjects? Also, how significant is the relationship between job stressors and coping strategies of middle-level managers in selected commercial banks in Metro Manila? If you have noticed, gentlemen, basta ang word kanira nga relate, related, no, association, relationship, those are belongs to relationship research questions, no, that implies a correlational design, no, ang relasyon kang dalawa ka variable. So, for example, does emotional readiness of level 3 BSN. So, the example na isa, emotional readiness, may relasyon bala ini sa performance, no, kang students, no. That's yon. And the other one, a difference research questions typically ask, is there a difference between or among the respondents in relation to a characteristics or factor under study? This type of question is often used when a researcher is after comparing or two or more observations. Example of difference results research questions are shown below. So kung kaina relationship, diyan pagita na difference, kaibahan na, no? So mga example na are, How do male and female civil engineering graduates compare in their performance in the board examination for civil engineers? Another example, how do the rank and file employees compare in their work values when they are categorized according to the following variables? Age, gender, civil status, monthly income, and educational attainment. You know? Another example, how significant is the difference in the leadership style of city mayors of the NCR when they are grouped according to their philosophy of leadership? Also, another example, how do accountancy graduates from private and state colleges and universities in the Visayas compare in their performance in the board examination for accountants? Also, another example, how do the chief executive officers and middle-level managers of the leading manufacturing firms in the National Capital Region compare in their levels of job and organizational commitment? So, evidently, you can see on the post questions the difference. No? You have to compare. The first question, you have to compare the male and female civil engineering students when it comes to their performance in the board examination for civil engineers. So, i-compare mo ang kaibahan kang performance kang laki kag bahay nga civil engineers, no? Muna siya, no? Ang example kang difference research questions. Let's move on to stating the research problem. After selecting the research problem, it has to be adequately stated. There are two ways of stating research problems, namely declarative and question. In most colleges and universities in the Philippines, the declarative form is used when stating the main problem of the study. On the other hand, the question form is used when stating the sub-problems or specific problems of the proposed research. Go over the example below and reflect on how the research problems on the influence of management styles and faculty behavior in one higher education institutions were stated. For example, ang ating problem, title of the study, the influence of managerial style on faculty behavior. So what are the main problem? Or what is the main problem? This study proved on the influence of management style of the academic administrators on the behavior of faculty members in one higher education institution in Manila during the academic year 1992-1993. And sub-problems or specific problems, Specifically, the following problems were answered systematically in this research. Question number 1. What is the profile of the respondents in terms of the following variables? So, mga variables na involves, example, edad, age, sex, civil status, length of service, tenure, academic unit assignment, and educational attainment. 2 questions. Number 2. What is the dominant management style of the academic administrators as perceived by themselves and their faculty members? So, have you noticed sa question 1 and 2, it uses descriptive research question because may what is tana nga gingamit. Let's see on question number 3. Do the two groups of respondents differ in their perception of the dominant management style of the academic administrators? Nakita niyo dyan differ, meaning na-fall siya sa a difference research question. So, you have to look on the difference among the two groups in terms of their style. Management style nila and fourth question, what is the behavior pattern of the respondent faculty members relative to the following factors in terms of professional satisfaction, commitment to the job and organization, and participation in decision making? Nakita niyo dyan what is, so they are using it use descriptive research question. 5 question, how do faculty members compare on their behavior pattern with regard to the aforementioned factors when they were classified according to the personal variables profile? So nakita nyo ang keywords compare, meaning it uses relationship research question, no? Ano ang relasyon, no, kang behavior nanda, no, among the administrator, no, using the personal variable profile. Ang mga profile na to sa question number 1. No? According to age, sex, civil status, links, a service, tenure, academic unit assignment, and educational assignment. And finally, last question, how are the perceived management styles of the academic administrators related to the behavior pattern of their faculty members? Yun, ang pinaka-last question ng intervention na paano na how what should be your intervention as a researcher. To be able to state the main problem in your proposed study, be clear as to what you really want to accomplish. So wala dyan parang dalam ka mga words na ginagamit, no? As much as possible, kung mag-research kita, use words that are relatable to all, especially sa mga regular readers, no? May diskan bala elementary makabasa ka makaintindi, no? So it does not require heavy words nga mga slang pa na mga words wala gina-discourage sa research. Certainly with what you want to find out will definitely enable you to state the main problem easily and correctly. State your research problem in the sentence showing that what you want to describe, explain, or predict. No? Once you have stated your main problem, try to answer the following questions. Is the problem statement clear? Naintindihan ba na ang sulat mga problem? Being able to identify exactly what is to be investigated from the problem statement is an indication that it is clear. Next, does it provide adequate focus and direction for research? Knowledge of what is to be done after stating the main problem means that it had guided you on what to do and what to emphasize in research. No? May direction ang imong research na should be emphasized in research. Next, does it identify the key factors or variable of the study? If the key factors cannot be identified from your statement of the research problem, then it is wrongly stated. No? Should be may mga variables involved dyan kara. No? For example, as mentioned earlier, no? Ano ang mga variables na include sa study ni dyan, influence the managerial style of faculty behavior. So, nagagamit na kang personal variables. No? Ano mga personal variables niya? So, it involves, for example, gusto mo na i-studyan ang sex na, kung pinakabilog ang laki kag bahi, no? Also, if you want to include in your personal variables, civil status, marriage ba na siya, no? Single ba na siya, naon ba na siya, pinamataan ba na siya, no? Depende kung anong gamitin mo nga variables sa civil status. Length of service, no? Pila ka tuig si manager o kasi program head mo dyan nag-serve no sa school as program head or as teacher, no? Tenure, pila kanot nag-start kang teach, kung saan ta permanent, saan ta umpisa kang tulo sa school, salita na ka dyan, no? Academic unit assignment, dito na belong, no? Anong college siya na belong, anong department siya na belong, kung ano ang ginahandle ng mga subjects. No? And educational attainment, ano siya? BS graduate ba na siya? High school graduate? Elementary graduate lang? O kung nakagraduate na kang master's degree or may PhD degree na. So, depende sa imo as researcher ka kung ano ang variables ang gusto mo nga include sa imong research, no? At as most problems are too large or complex to be solved, they have to be subdivided. Okay? Every problem can be broken down into smaller or discrete units. These subparts are also often called sub-problems. According to Liddy 2003, it is by viewing the main problem through the sub-problem that the researcher gets a better view of the entire research endeavor. As much as we have to always think of the research problem in terms of its component parts, there is a need for us to be aware of the characteristics of sub-problems. No? In other words, ang problem, for example, napaka-general. No? So, hindi natin lagi nang basta-basta masolve gentleman kung general ang problem mo. Sakit ulo mo. For example, okay, amo lang dyan example natin na yan. For example, naka per may na-aksidente na nga, mga fisher folks na lang. So, nakita mo, ano ang cause ng aksidente per may ka fisher folks every time may magpangista, tanda. So, you have to break down. Itarakan mo, ano with bala ang rason nga nag-permit na, tanda, naka lang permit, adlaw na lang may aksidente nga mga fisher folks. So, investigate natin, i-break down natin into smaller problem. May mga bala dyan, mga fisher folks. Kamusta ayan ka dyan ang status, may training bala dyan tanda ka dyan, may appropriate training bala nga natinan dyan, may mga ka dyan ang status, no? Mga graduate ba tanda ka dyan elementary lang, high school or college. Adequate bala ang mga equipment na ginagamit nanda kung mamangista tanda. Bala sila, nagabual bala sila sa update sa LGU kung or sa MD, RRMO kung may mga upcoming mga bagyo o kung calamities, no, sa area. And some other things to be considered, kung kang cause kang permi na lang nag-aksidente ang fisher fox. Because each sub-problem should be a completely researchable unit. A sub-problem should be researched as a separate sub-project within the larger research goal. It is stated in the form of a question. Interpretation of data must be apparent with its sub-problem. The fact that data will be interpreted must be clearly evident from the statement of the sub-problem. The sub-problems must add up to the totality of the problems. This simply means that a sub-problems formulated will aid the researcher in covering all the significant areas of the main problem. Yun, gentlemen, no? That's why may main problem kag may specific problem because himay-himayon natin ang problem nga gusto natin research to in the end masolve natin ang problem, no? Kay directly, hindi natin lagi na masolve kung main problem kita lagi magdireksyon. No? Dapat start na kita sa gamay, no? I-uncover ta anay ang mga sub-problems nga where the main problems it all started, no? Okay? Sige. Next, justifying the research problem. As researcher, how would you justify the research problem that you are going to conduct, no? Anong problem? For example, pilihan ka ng research problem. So you have to justify, right? You have to explain why, no? Because after kang chapter 1 to 3, may may pre-oral defense kamo kara dyan. So i-defend mo na sa kinangkon kag panel ang inyong research, no? So you have to justify and defend your research. Having defined clearly the problem of the study, the researcher's next task is to justify his choice of it over the other probable ones. To justify your study on the problem, try to answer the following questions. Tandaan nyo, gentlemen, kung ano ang mga usually nga pamangkot, no? Does the problem require immediate solution? Kung example, nagpili ka ko sa problem, kinahanglan bala dyan lagi kang solusyon. Is it widespread? Ano bala ini? Pangkalatan bala ini? Katabo bala ni sa kabilugan ng Pilipinas o di dyan lang sa Antique? O kabilugan or kabilugan sa, as a whole, no? Whole wide web. No? Does it affect the number of people? If yes, in what way? Does it affect the number of people? Meaning, sinuo ka dyan mga tao, ang mapiktuhan ka dyan. Nagkataon kita, we're focusing on the maritime education, so the maritime industry. So, ang mga people nga makaapektuhan ka dyan, katong research ka dyan, maka-benefit ka dyan, student, no? Mga estudyante sa mga maritime schools, no? Ang results ko dyan, replicate kung ma-share sa ibang mga maritime schools. So, aside from students, no? Mga faculty, no? Mga maritime faculty, ano pa, ang mga maritime practitioners, no? Being maritime education training centers, sa mga shipping agency, no? Mga fisher folks natin, no? All personnel working in maritime industry, they are all affected, no, by the study that you are going to conduct. Kay area ba kang aton study, focus lang kita sa maritime education and training. No? What benefits can be derived from the study of the problems? Yun, as mentioned earlier, galing ang balkon, dapat may benepisyo gid nga mapuslan ang maritime industry sa ating research, no? Result ng research natin. So dapat may benefits gid na, can it be in the improvement of curriculum sa school, improvement the quality of students, can be improvement policy, no, kang maritime industry, improvement the lives of people, no, in the maritime industry. No? Who else are interested in studying the problems? Who else? So, those individuals, especially mga research enthusiasts, na siya nga mga maritime educators, no, nga aligned sa maritime education, no? So more likely sila gid kara magkaka-interest kag aton pag-study kang problem na so because mo gani right should be aligned with your area specialization, no? So di man pwede nga iba ta ng field ang na nag-graduate teacher education team mo, tapos gusto mo ito nga i-studihan ang safety kang mga seafarers, so hindi man pwede, no? So hindi man da-align. So that's why usually ang mga mga maritime practitioners ang ka-interest to conduct a study on maritime issues and problems, no? Okay? What contribution to human knowledge can it bring about? Yun nga ang balko liwat ko used for the improvement of the program, no? Can it be in the school, or in the maritime industry as the whole? Dapat may gid ang imong problem, no? Ang research problem mo dapat may contribution gid sa kabilugan nga maritime industry, no? Okay, gentlemen? Next, writing the title of the study. So, una pa lang to, keywords pa lang gid na assign ko ninyo. That's why we will be discussing on how to write the title of the study, no? Dapat ano ang considerations on writing the title of the study. Now, after identifying your research problem, you need to give it a title. The label for the problem is your research title, no? There are certain functions served by the research title. Notable among these functions are the following. It shows what the study is all about. That's why, gentlemen, you have to be very careful on writing the title of the research. Kaya kung upon reading the title, no, ano lagi, no, it shows what the study is all about. Dapat ano lagi, may idea rin lagi ang nagabasa kung mga researcher no, dyan, no. It serves as the frame of reference for the entire study, no. So mura ang ginabasyan kang mga readers, no, mga researcher, no, as reference for the entire study, no. Kung basa da lagi title ay amo ra galit dyan. Do may ano tanda lagi may background lagi tanda, may idea lagi tanda ay amo galit na dyan. Amo galit dyan imong study as no. So may reference tanda rin. So it enables the researcher to claim ownership of the study through the title of the study. You can own, no. You can claim ownership of the study, no. Dapat original gid ang imong nga title, no. Lain sa iba, no. It can help other researchers refer to the work for possible theories related to their proposed studies, no. Okay, as the title is necessary for a study on a research problem, there are some attributes or characteristics it must possess. Now, as pointed out by Sevilla 1993 and Danza 1995, a good title is clear and specific as the contents of the study are clearly shown in it. No? It also shows relationships among the characteristics or factors being studied. Hence, a good title implies whether the research will focus on differences, effects, or association between and among variables to be investigated. Finally, a good title is brief but concise. By brevity is meant that it is composed of not more than 15 substantive words, excluding function words such as articles, conjunctions, and prepositions. So, gentlemen, di lang ka palagpat nga mag-imod ka title nga easy rin kalawid-lawid, no? So, limited lang siya sa 15 substantive words, no? Isipan mo by word. Pila lang kabilog, dapat 15 words lang ha. Words ha. Di lang magsobra. And that ends the chapter 3 of the course titled Focusing on the Research Problem.